Welcome back to the channel Numisma Hubcoin Lovers. Today, we're diving into the world of Jefferson nickels, specifically the 1991 D. At first glance, it's just a common 5-cent piece, but in the right condition, this little coin could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Stick around, because we're going to uncover how a simple nickel might just turn into a hidden treasure in your pocket change. Top 5. First up, uncovering whether the humble 1991 D. Jefferson nickel could suddenly turn your pocket change into a windfall. Think thousands of dollars overnight. Stay tuned to find out if you're sitting on a secret treasure trove. In 1991, the U.S. Mint struck approximately 436 million Jefferson nickels at the Denver Mint, marking it as a very common issue in everyday circulation, even today. Typically, most 1991 D nickels trade at face value, worth only 5 cents in circulated condition. Nothing to write home about until you find a rare gemstone uncirculated essentials. But if you've got an uncirculated MS, specimen graded MS60 to MS65, it's worth a bit more, though still modest. Only the truly eye-catching, vastly rare specimens command serious collector interest. One of the major value-boosting features for Jefferson nickels is full steps, FS, meaning all steps along Monticello's dome are sharply struck and fully visible. This seemingly small detail can vastly elevate value. Auction records for FS varieties. For a 1991 D and MS67 FS, a superb, pristine coin, auction records show sale prices around $396. The finest known examples reach MS66, and one such specimen fetched about $403 at auction. These represent some of the absolute top-tier 1991 D coins. Gray Sheet Price Range. The Gray Sheet Pricing Guide lists wholesale values for MS67FS coins ranging up to $2,500, though retail asking prices may be higher in certain niche markets. So, even though millions were minted, only a tiny handful of MS67FS or MS66 specimens yield substantial value, and even then, substantial generally caps out in the low thousands, not tens of thousands or overnight fortunes. Remember, you'd need an extremely high-grade, certified coin in near-perfect condition, and one that a buyer is willing to pay top dollar for. That's rare, so while possible, it's far from probable. To all the dreamers out there, don't expect every nickel to be a lottery ticket. But if it's in pristine condition and FS graded, your nickel could still be a surprise gem. Grading seal of approval. Value hinges on certification, most likely by PCGS or NGC. These third-party graders quantify its grade and authenticate features like FS, ensuring buyers trust what they're purchasing. Collector demand, combined with low population, few coins with such high grades exist, drives prices. An MS67 FS coin's rarity and quality give it collectible allure. By comparison, Jefferson nickels from more famed low mintage years or with standout errors can fetch more, but for 1991 D, an MS67 FS remains the headline champ. Typical market realities. In most cases, 1991 D nickels, circulated or common uncirculated ones, never top more than a few dollars in collector catalogs. Only elite and certified pieces breach the three-figure mark. Script advice for enthusiasm versus accuracy. In video, you can add the excitement. Could your nickel be a hidden gold mine? But anchor that hype with facts. Use anecdotes. One collector struck $400. Instead of, you'll get rich overnight. Show side by side. A worn nickel versus a pristine MS67 FS under lighting. Point out the full steps, style, strike quality. Then flash auction listings or pop-up figures like $396 or $2,500 estimate. Invite viewers. Got a 1991 nickel? Send me pictures or head to a local coin show. You might just have a keeper, or at least a cool conversation starter. Final note of realism and excitement. Yes, it's exciting to imagine wealth from loose change, but the truth? Only exceptionally perfect, certified 1991 DFS nickels reach $400 to $2,500. Still, that's thousands times face value. Closing tagline. So next time you check your pocket change, give those Jefferson nickels a closer look. You never know when a 5-cent coin could be your next prize collectible. Next up, the Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, has been one of the most widely circulated coins in American history. By the year 1994, the Jefferson nickel had already been in production for over 5 decades, maintaining its familiar portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. The 1994 P. Jefferson nickel is one of the many issues produced in the modern era, continuing the long-standing tradition of the series. The P mint mark on the 1994 nickel indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Prior to 1980, Philadelphia coins did not always bear a mint mark, but starting in that year, the P became a standard feature on most denominations, including the nickel. Thus, the 1994 P represents the Philadelphia Mint's continuation of mass production for the American 5-cent piece. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel has remained essentially unchanged in design since its release in 1938, though some details have softened over decades of striking. In 1994, the coin still featured Jefferson's left-facing portrait on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, despite public discussions about updating U.S. coin designs in the 1990s. The obverse of the 1994 P-nickel displays the word Liberty, the date 1994, and the national motto, "In God We Trust." Jefferson's profile remained sharp and recognizable, though by this time, most strikes were somewhat flat in areas of the cheekbone and hair, a common trait for this series. On the reverse, Monticello, the neoclassical mansion designed by Jefferson, appears as the central feature. The inscriptions E Pluribus Unum, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America frame the design. By 1994, Monticello's steps and dome often showed weak details due to striking pressure, a long-standing challenge for the design. The coin was made of the standard cupronickel composition, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This alloy had been used for Jefferson nickels since 1946, when the wartime silver alloy was discontinued. The coin measured 21.2 millimeters in diameter and weighed 5 grams, consistent with all nickels since 1866. In 1994, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 722 million nickels, making the 1994 P a common issue in circulation. Because of this high mintage, the coin is not rare in general circulation today, though pristine examples in uncirculated condition are still sought after by collectors. The condition of the 1994 P-nickel plays a major role in determining its value. Circulated examples are generally worth face value, but uncirculated coins with sharp strikes, full steps on Monticello, and minimal blemishes can command a premium in the collector's market. One of the most desirable varieties of Jefferson nickels is the full steps designation. This refers to the visibility of all 6 steps on Monticello on the reverse. The 1994 P is known for weak strikes, making full steps examples quite scarce and much more valuable to collectors. Another point of interest for collectors lies in potential minting errors. While the 1994 P-nickel does not have any widely recognized major error varieties, examples with die cracks, off-center strikes, or double dies have been found, making them significantly more valuable than regular issues. The coin circulated widely in the American economy of the 1990s. At that time, the nickel was used for vending machines, parking meters, and everyday change, continuing its role as an essential piece of U.S. coinage since its inception. By 1994, the Jefferson nickel had been in use for 56 years without major redesign. This made it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Discussions about updating the design would not lead to actual changes until 2004, when commemorative Westward Journey nickels were introduced. The Philadelphia Mint's production of the 1994 nickel reflected the U.S. Mint's emphasis on high-volume circulation coinage. At over 722 million struck, it was one of the most produced denominations of the year, ensuring that nearly every American encountered the coin in daily transactions. In numismatics, the 1994 P-nickel is often viewed as a representative example of late 20th century U.S. coinage, common in circulation, but with a few exceptional specimens that make it appealing for specialized collections. Proof versions of the Jefferson nickel were also minted in 1994, but these were struck in San Francisco and carry the ES Mint mark. The Philadelphia version remained purely a circulation strike, not produced in collector proof sets. The value of the 1994 P nickel remains modest for most examples. Circulated coins are worth 5 cents, while uncirculated examples may range from a few cents above face value to a few dollars, depending on strike quality. Exceptional full steps examples can bring prices in the hundreds of dollars at auction. For collectors assembling a complete set of Jefferson nickels, the 1994 P is an essential but relatively easy date to acquire. Its true challenge lies in finding high-grade full-step specimens, which remain rare and elusive. Historically, the coin represents a snapshot of American coinage during the 1990s, a period when the mint was producing billions of coins annually to meet the needs of a growing economy, yet still using designs that dated back to the Great Depression era. Today, the 1994 P nickel continues to be a common sight in circulation, though most examples are heavily worn. Collectors and enthusiasts look for well-preserved coins, often grading them through services like PeaceGS or NGC to authenticate and certify their value. In summary, the 1994 P. Jefferson nickel may not be the rarest or most valuable coin of the series, but it holds an important place in U.S. coinage history. With its high mintage, classic Jefferson and Monticello designs, and potential for valuable full-steps varieties, it remains a fascinating collectible for those interested in modern American coinage. Next up, the Jefferson nickel is one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. coinage history, and the 1997 P 5-cent coin stands as part of that long tradition. First introduced in 1938, the design replaced the Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation for 25 years. The 1997 issue is significant because it comes from a period when the Jefferson nickel had already been in production for nearly 6 decades, making it a well-established part of everyday American commerce. The obverse of the 1997 P. Jefferson nickel features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, who served from 1801 to 1809. Jefferson's profile has remained on the 5-cent piece since 1938, originally sculpted by artist Felix Schlag. By 1997, this design had become deeply ingrained in American culture, representing not only a former president, but also the values of liberty, democracy, and progress that Jefferson championed. The reverse of the coin in 1997 continued to display Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. This neoclassical home was designed by Jefferson himself and serves as a lasting symbol of his brilliance as both an architect and a statesman. The depiction of Monticello on the nickel was also created by Schlag, and over time it became one of the most iconic structures to appear on U.S. coinage. The P mint mark on the 1997 Jefferson nickel indicates that the coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. The Philadelphia Mint has historically been the primary producer of circulating coinage in the United States, and in 1997, it struck millions of these nickels for circulation. Unlike earlier decades, when some coins were scarce, the 1990s Jefferson nickels were generally produced in large quantities. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint struck 515,292,000 nickels in 1997 with the P mint mark. This massive number ensured that the 1997 P nickel would be widely available for circulation across the nation. It also meant that most examples of this coin are common today, though collectors still look for pristine, uncirculated examples and those with special errors. The 1997 Jefferson nickel is composed of a cupronickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition has been standard for U.S. nickels since 1866, except during World War II, when nickels were made of silver to conserve nickel metal for the war effort. The durability of this alloy ensured that the 1997 nickels could withstand decades of use in commerce. The coin weighs 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. Its smooth edge, without reading, has been a distinctive feature of the nickel since its inception. These physical specifications have remained unchanged throughout most of the nickel's history, making the 1997 issue consistent with its predecessors. During the 1990s, Jefferson nickels were not seen as particularly collectible by the general public because they were so common. However, certain collectors began to recognize the importance of building complete date and mint mark sets, which meant that even coins like the 1997 P played an important role in completing a collection. For coin enthusiasts, one of the most exciting aspects of the 1997 P nickel is the possibility of finding errors or varieties. Some nickels may show die cracks, off-center strikes, or even double die obverse or reverses. While rare, these varieties can make an otherwise common coin far more valuable. The 1997 P nickel also reflects the stability of U.S. coinage in the late 20th century. Unlike earlier decades that saw frequent design changes, the 1990s nickels maintained consistency in appearance. This continuity made them easy for the public to identify and reinforce trust in the U.S. Mint's production standards. While most 1997 P nickels circulated heavily, those saved in rolls or bags soon after minting remained in brilliant uncirculated condition. Collectors often seek these higher-grade coins, which can display strong luster, sharp details, and fewer marks compared to circulated examples that in the coin market. The 1997 P nickel in circulated condition typically holds only face value due to its high mintage. However, in mint state grades such as MS65 or higher, the coin can be worth more to collectors. For example, gem quality 1997 P nickels may bring several dollars, especially if graded by professional services like PGS or NGC. Some 1997 P nickels graded at the highest levels, such as MS67 or MS68, can reach hundreds of dollars at auction. These are exceptional examples, often struck from fresh dies and carefully preserved by collectors. Their rarity in such pristine condition makes them valuable despite the coin's otherwise common nature. The coin also represents an important era in American history. The 1990s were a decade of economic growth, technological innovation, and cultural change in the United States. Everyday coins like the 1997 nickel circulated during this period of optimism, serving as silent witnesses to millions of transactions and daily lives. Historically, the Jefferson nickel has been more than just currency. It has symbolized America's democratic ideals through its depiction of Jefferson and Monticello. By 1997, this message had been conveyed to several generations of Americans, reinforcing national identity and civic pride. For educators and numismatists, the 1997 P nickel is also a teaching tool. It helps illustrate the enduring legacy of Thomas Jefferson, the history of U.S. coinage, and the importance of the Philadelphia Mint. It also introduces collectors to the concept of mintage, design consistency, and the search for condition rarity. In terms of circulation, the 1997 P nickel would have been used in countless everyday purchases, payphones, vending machines, bus fares, and small retail transactions. Although many people took the coin for granted, it played an essential role in keeping the American economy running smoothly on the smallest levels. As time passes, coins like the 1997 P nickel begin to gain historical value, not just monetary value. Collectors of the future may look back on late 20th century nickels with nostalgia, much as collectors today admire earlier designs like the Buffalo nickel or Liberty Head nickel. The 1997 P issue also sits near the end of the classic Jefferson nickel design. Only a few years later, in 2004 and 2005, the U.S. Mint would issue special commemorative Westward Journey nickels, followed by a new portrait of Jefferson in 2006. This makes the 1997 P part of the last decade of the original Felix Schlag design. In conclusion, the 1997 P Jefferson nickel may appear ordinary at first glance, but it carries with it a rich legacy of American history, artistry, and culture. Whether viewed as a circulating workhorse of the 1990s economy or as a collectible coin with potential varieties and high-grade rarities, it represents an enduring chapter in the story of U.S. coinage. Next up, the Jefferson nickel, introduced in 1938, replaced the Buffalo nickel and became one of the longest-running coin series in U.S. history. By 1989, the coin had already been in circulation for more than 50 years. The design, created by sculptor Felix Schlag, features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. The 1989 D. Jefferson nickel continues this classic tradition and holds its own place in numismatic history. The D. mint mark on the 1989 D. Jefferson nickel indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint. The Denver facility has produced countless coins since its founding in the early 1900s and was especially active during the 1980s. Coins struck here are marked with a small d on the reverse of the nickel, located to the right of Monticello's steps. The 1980s were a transitional period for U.S. coinage. While the Jefferson nickel retained its classic design, other denominations like the penny underwent significant changes in composition. The nickel, however, remained a stable 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy, a composition unchanged since 1866, making the 1989 D both modern and traditional. The obverse of the 1989 D nickel depicts Jefferson facing left. His hair is tied back in the colonial style, and inscriptions include the word liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the year, 1989. This design is nearly identical to the original Schlag portrait from 1938, though minor modifications had been made over the decades to sharpen details. On the reverse, Monticello stands as the centerpiece. Jefferson's Virginia home was chosen as a symbol of his contributions not just as president, but also as an architect and visionary. The inscriptions on the reverse include E pluribus unum above Monticello, the word Monticello below, followed by 5 cents, and finally, United States of America. In terms of production, the 1989 D. Jefferson nickel had an impressively large mintage. The Denver Mint struck 570,842,474 nickels that year, making it one of the most common issues in the Jefferson nickel series. This high mintage ensured that the coin would circulate widely across the nation. Because of this massive production, the 1989 D nickel is not considered rare in circulated condition. Millions of these coins remain in pockets, piggy banks, and change jars today. However, as with all modern coins, its value to collectors depends on its condition and rarity in high grades. The typical circulated 1989 D nickel is worth only face value, 5 cents. However, uncirculated or mint state examples, particularly those with strong strikes and minimal blemishes, can command higher premiums. Collectors specifically seek coins graded MS65 and above. A particularly desirable type of 1989 D. Jefferson nickel is one with full steps, FS designation. This refers to the visibility of all the steps leading up to Monticello on the reverse. Because striking quality varied, coins with sharp, fully defined steps are scarce and highly prized by collectors. Full steps 1989 D nickels are rare in grades above MS65. This rarity is due to weak strikes, worn dies, and mass production that often fail to capture fine details. For that reason, FS nickels from this year can be worth significantly more than their ordinary counterparts. The 1989 D nickel also reflects America's economic environment in the late 1980s. At the time, inflation had slightly eroded the purchasing power of the 5-cent coin, but nickels still played an important role in vending machines, payphones, and everyday transactions. While most 1989 D nickels are common, errors and varieties are especially collectible. Some examples include off-center strikes, double die obverse, and die cracks. These mint errors can transform an otherwise ordinary coin into a valuable numismatic treasure. The Jefferson nickel series itself has a fascinating place in U.S. coinage history. Few coins have lasted with the same design for so long. By 1989, the series was 51 years old and still retained its original artistic identity, despite some calls for redesign. Collectors often include the 1989 D in complete Jefferson nickel sets. Since it is inexpensive, it is one of the easier coins to acquire. The challenge lies not in finding one, but in finding a superb example with flawless surfaces and sharp detail. In terms of grading, circulated examples range from good G4 to extremely fine XF40, where the details of Jefferson's hair and Monticello begin to show wear. Mint state coins, however, are judged on luster, strike, and absence of marks. The finest examples can reach MS-67 or higher, though such coins are extremely scarce. Auction records reveal that certain 1989 D. Jefferson nickels in MS-67 plus full steps have sold for hundreds, sometimes over $1,000. This shows how condition and strike quality can dramatically influence a coin's market value. The Denver Mint's role in producing these coins was essential. Known for striking massive quantities of circulating coinage, the Denver facility has historically emphasized quantity over quality. This explains why high-grade, fully struck 1989 D nickels are much harder to come by. Despite being a common date, the 1989 D. Jefferson nickel remains an important marker of its time. It represents the stability of U.S. coinage design, the continuing role of the nickel in commerce, and the enduring popularity of Jefferson's image as a symbol of American history. For new collectors, the 1989 D serves as an excellent entry point into the Jefferson nickel series. It is affordable, easy to find, and introduces key concepts such as mint marks, grading, strike quality, and the significance of full steps. In conclusion, the 1989 D. Jefferson nickel may not be rare in numbers, but its story is rich with historical, artistic, and economic significance. From its Denver origins to its place in collections today, it reminds us that even the most ordinary pocket change carries with it a piece of American history. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the history of the 1989 D. Jefferson nickel. Every coin has a story to tell, and even the ones we see in everyday change connect us to the past in meaningful ways. If you enjoyed learning about this coin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating coin histories. Your support helps keep this passion for numismatics alive. So thank you once again for being part of our community.